Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's webinar. The 3 Ps for growing your travel agency sales exponentially. This webinar is provided to you by travelprofessionalnews.com and travelprofessionalcommunity.com and will be hosted by Michelle Fee and Scott Koepf of Cruise Planners. Michelle Fee is the founder and CEO of Cruise Planners. Long before home-based businesses were even heard of, Michelle Fee, a young mom, travel advisor, and visionary, founded Cruise Planners, an unconventional business model designed to change the travel world. Since 1994, Michelle has led Cruise Planners, ensuring franchise owners have the technology, marketing, and training they need to be the best in the industry. From the original training class of 5 cruise planners, travel advisors, to the ongoing training classes of more than 100, Michelle continues to take a hands-on approach to ensure Cruise Planners travel advisors are empowered and equipped for success. Michelle is a godmother of the AMA Waterways AMA Siena and has an active role on many advisory boards. Scott Koepf is Senior Vice President of Strategic Development with Cruise Planners, supporting the growth of the Cruise Planners Network by leading the training and events teams and exploring new opportunities for strategic growth. A trained opera singer, Scott has a natural, motivational training style that inspires and impacts his sales. Scott has more than 30 years of travel experience, including many years as a travel advisor. Scott serves on several advisory boards and is well regarded in the travel industry for his extensive knowledge of sales and retail travel operations and his dedication to helping travel advisors grow their businesses. Just as a reminder, you are all muted during this webinar. If you have any questions, please type them into the question or chat box, and we look forward to presenting a fantastic webinar with you. As a reminder, please pay attention and take notes. There will be 2 lucky prize winners at the end of this presentation. Over to you, Michelle and Scott.
How to maximize each of those as we move forward. So again, what we really want to do is help you with some key takeaways. So Michelle, let me go ahead and dig into what those takeaways really are. So what we want to do is we want to help you identify the challenges. And so we might ask some pointed questions. We might, again, ask you to kind of dig a little deeper and look at your business and try to figure out where you can make some changes to move forward. And that, of course, is going to lead you to looking for the opportunities of what changes to make so that you can then take action. Because really, when it's all said and done, if you're not going to do something different than you did before, then we can't expect anything different to happen. And of course, all of those things are designed to help you increase sales as, again, we move out of 2020, maybe not soon enough, but we get moving out of 2020 and into 2021. So it really is taking this whole approach, and you may have heard of a SWOT analysis, but we've kind of simplified that by really just getting down to some real basics and simple questions and where to go from there. So Michelle, kind of take it away with our first P.
Okay, our first P is professionalism. And what you do now absolutely counts. Home-based advisors, all of you, have never been so valued as you are today. I mean, come on, guys, you've been working tirelessly. Refunds, changes, rebookings. What about those long hold times? Again, Scott, I can see all their heads nodding. Yes, this is me during COVID. This is what I'm living now. You know, but unfortunately, you've had to work reactively, right? Things are happening, they're coming at you, and just to keep ahead, you know, you couldn't be proactive. But now's the time to pivot. Now's the time to change. Now's the time to be proactive. Because again, what I said, what you do now is going to count. And from what I hear, cruise lines are receiving more direct business now than pre-COVID. And there's a simple why. Why is that happening? It's because those heavy discounters, those online travel companies, those big box stores, let me do a little wink wink here, without saying a name, and you all know who I'm talking about, those companies have all downsized significantly. But let me make a point here. Make no mistake, they are all going to ramp up once travel resumes. So home-based agents, you have a very narrow window of opportunity. And I want you to write this down. I have to act now. How many of you are up for it? Okay, I wish I could see all those hands being raised. Because the resurgence of travel is about to happen. You know, we are extremely optimistic that ships are going to get back into the waters. And I was actually talking before the seminar started with Scott, and we were talking about how the heads of the cruise lines are starting to really feel, they're all starting to say that we're getting back in the waters in 2020. You know, and we know every day new destinations start up. You know, we've got a little bit of a ways to go. Betty, what are you doing today to be business for the future? Because the time is now. Let's talk about that. What makes you better? What makes you more professional? You know that word professional, because let's face it, all of us sell the same on the same ship, the same hotels, right? We're all selling the same thing. But over the past few months, we've all endured a lot, even to get to this point. So what are you doing right now to move your business forward? How does one look? The travel vendors are, the cruise lines are, the tour companies are, and so is your competition. So let's look at your first handout, and the question number one is, so now is the time to look at the worksheet and answer the question, have you adapted your marketing strategy? Yes or no? In other words, are you reaching out? What is your cadence of communication? And what message are you conveying to your customers?
I think that's so important to focus on, Michelle, because you know a lot of us look at that and say, time is now. Oh, this is the hardest time we have ever gone through as an industry, and we don't want to be Pollyanna and say that, oh no, it's everything's really cool. But we are no doubt coming out of this so strong, and I love that term resurgence. There's no doubt that the problem that we've gone through is not a lack of demand. So now it's a matter of, again, preparing for that. And I love this slide now, and Michelle, maybe you can address it more specifically, is that really sometimes we think about marketing and we get wrapped up in the term marketing, but what all marketing really is communicating.
And you know, this brings us to the second question. Are you consistently communicating with your clients? And you know what, Scott, I don't mean like sending them those vendor emails or deals. You know, that should be a given. That should be something that we're constantly doing. But what I mean is personally calling them, yes or no. And are you finding out what their future travel plans are? And are you letting them know why they should make plans for 2021? And this is really important, everyone. Even in these uncertain times, we all know, we've been hearing it, you know, on every webinar, pent-up demand, pent-up demand. Well, it's real. And if you're not telling your clients that the demand is going to be greater than the supply, they could possibly not only miss out on their 2020 vacation, but their 2021 vacation as well. You know, we've been tasked with explaining all these new protocols. So are you educating your clients? You know, some agents might be saying, oh, I don't want to bother my clients. They're not ready to talk travel. I got to tell you all, statistics show that people are ready to talk travel right now. Have you seen the stock market, Scott, lately? The cruise lines have gone up without a single cruise leaving a U.S. port. So again, if you're not reaching out, someone else is.
Well, I think that is so important, Michelle. And, and I think sometimes when we say and we ask the question of, calling the customer, you're like, well, what am I going to say? And what do I do? And here's my recommendation is you don't think of it in terms of I'm calling to sell something. You really can just literally start the conversation by, how are you feeling about travel? And I think what you're going to find is there's some people who said, you know what, I'm ready to book right now. I can't wait to go. I'm so excited. And what's available and where can I go next week? And then you're going to have other people who will certainly say, you know what, it's way too early and not willing to talk. The vast majority are going to be people who are ready to talk now. It's just when they book may vary, and it's going to be at different times. And the only way you can really know that is not to use your own assessment, but to pick up the phone and ask them. And people will tell you flat out that they're, no, not ready, and that's okay. And just maybe find out, well, when would you like me to touch base again? But most people are going to want to start the planning process. And the key is that you then become front of mind to them. You're the one who is basically the person who is going to procure the right information to them. But I love this quote that we want to show you here of a satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all, right? And there's no question that really the basis of your business, and I'll say really I think we've kind of talked with our first and our second P's of the two most valuable assets that you have in your business. And the first is, of course, professionalism, which I'll say another way, is you, right? Your abilities, your knowledge, your personality, all the wonderful things that you are bringing to the table for your customers. That's your asset number one. And asset number two is your database, the people that you are working with or that you want to work with. And so people become so important. And again, what's the ultimate goal? Well, no doubt, as hungry as all of us are these days, and it's like, the ultimate goal is to get a booking and get a booking now. Well, the reality is the ultimate goal may be to have an incredibly loyal customer base that, yes, during the tough times, they still want to talk to you, they still want to deal with you, and there is no question they're going to come to you to book your business. But how do you build that kind of relationship now in particular, but even in the long run? And this is the important question. How well do you really know your customers? I mean, really, really know your customers. Just the fact that they are on your database, just the fact that you have a list that you've got their name and email and phone number is really irrelevant. That means they're probably on 17 other travel agency sites and those big boxes that Michelle had mentioned. They're probably getting emails from them too. So the question becomes, and what is going to separate you in terms of your ability to connect with customers and create loyalty with your customers is how much do you know about them? What kind of details do you know about them? Now, there's no question that when there's varying levels of knowledge that we can have the customers, and the more of all of these, the more successful you're going to be in communicating. So again, there's kind of two parts to the question that Michelle asked earlier is that, are you communicating? The second question we have in your handout, consistently communicating with your clients, which is so important regardless. You've got to be consistent in messaging and getting out there. But the second becomes, and this leads us as we move forward here under people, to basically say, but are you reaching them and communicating with them in the right way? So how do you know that? Well, you know it on their buying habits. Obviously, that's easier. Somebody who's already done business with you and bought 2 or 3 things from you over their trips over time. You're going to know their buying habits. That gives you a great clue, right? A great idea of what they're probably or most likely interested in the future. It's also really important to know when they travel. Obviously, if you look at somebody's records, they've always gone in July and it's always the time that they go. That's important. It gives you a good idea. Sometimes, though, we forget what might even be more important is when they buy. So some people may be inconsistent in terms of which month they actually travel in, but they may always be consistent of when they make the decision to. That timing has changed here this year. We all know that. We all know it's changed. But again, if you can track that and get a general idea when people tend to make their decision moving forward, that gives you a great clue as to when to reach out and to talk to these folks. Obviously, their age, their demographics, their income level, their psychographics, all of that kind of stuff basically adds up to an ability to know more and more about your customers. And so it's important that, number one, I would say it may be the most important aspect of the logistical parts of your business, that you have a sophisticated customer relationship management program. All that information that's on your slide there, and as we bring up the next slide, the information that you want to get on your customers is important to get, but you've got to keep it somewhere, right? You've got to have it somewhere that you can reference it quickly. You can get to that information. You can slice and dice your database in different ways to make sure that you're sending, again, the right message at the right time. And again, that comes from customer data that you're going to collect there. And it's really important when you look at your business that you have the right kind of technology that not only gives you this kind of information in the CRM, but also gives you even more information. So as an example here, we've got some information that we actually think that it is so important, we pay for it for our advisors. And we use a third-party company, and I will say it's one of these companies that probably knows more about you and your customers than all of us would like, but they do know. And so it gives you some great information here on a customer, even if you have some personal information on them, what they've done over the last couple of years. So as an example, someone may have gone on a Carnival cruise for the last 3 years and enjoyed it and come back year after year. But now you realize that based on the code that we provide, again, our franchisees in our system, and these are available to you, you can look at the code and say, wait a minute, this is somebody who actually is in a very high luxury kind of code. They may be open, even if it's something a little different or unique, to go to something a lot more expensive. So we don't want to pigeonhole people. There's so much we can learn. And of course, if you don't have the past history, then this gives you a great indication as to what you should be marketing to and talking to these customers about. So again, as you kind of look at the slide there, you see that this information gives you kind of a tier of income, an age idea, and just gives you a general idea. And of course, it allows you now to, again, slice and dice that database so that you can reach out to the right folks with the right information. And imagine not only in the marketing side, but on the selling side, that you're able to kind of look up a customer and know that this is someone that you could give a suite upgrade to, or again, look at a different type of product or an extended product. So again, it's important that if you don't have access to this data right in your CRM, that you at least create a spreadsheet or something that you really know your customers as best as possible and get to that information. And in addition to that, you also want to look at what we call milestones. You know, there's no doubt that people make different decisions when something exciting is about to happen. Now, I think we can all call a milestone of 2020, and there's going to be a big decision of travel that's going to be taking place in 2021 because it's a milestone to get through this year. But for most people, a major milestone might be a 50th birthday, or a 50th anniversary. Actually, would be a real milestone in today's world. And you know, but some kind of an anniversary or a birthday or a milestone. And again, it's so important to get a CRM system that will track that for you and to pull it up and say, hey, look at this. Mark Schwartz is in 60, so now's a great time to get a hold of them. You'll see, again, this is from the system that we have at Cruise Planners, but again, if you don't have the system does this, keep track of this in your own system. Birthdays, anniversaries, you know, based on their prior purchases. And what this really is doing is to give you an idea of who to call next, and then what is the subject of that conversation. Again, such a great opportunity to kind of open up that phone call if you're concerned about whether you should call or what the lead in is for that call. A milestone gives you that opportunity. So again, you are personalizing your phone call, personalizing your marketing. And then all of that really brings us to the question number 4 on your worksheet. And that is, are you communicating with your clients in a personal way? So in other words, are you sending a Carnival offer to a Seabourn client or vice versa? And are you actually marketing to your customers with the right offers at the right time? So important to have that information as you go to market. So Michelle, tell us a little bit more about kind of the other ways that people are communicating these days.
Absolutely. So I wanted to just pipe in too, because I'm not sure if any of you ever watched the Netflix documentary. It's pretty new. It's called The Social Dilemma. But it's exactly what you're saying, Scott. You know, you ever notice when you go on Google and let's say you want to buy a new car or something like that, and you try Googling it, and then all of a sudden you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and car ads start showing up? Or quite honestly, anything you're clicking on is now being presented to you in your feeds. And I know that kind of sounds scary. And actually, when I watched The Social Dilemma, I was kind of like, wow, you know, that's kind of freaky. But it's the future of marketing, personalizing what your clients want to see. You know, the one thing social media can't do, though, and this is where you guys can step back, is you can create those personal relationships. You can understand your client's needs, you know, and you'll win every time over all of those, you know, Google, and Google might have somebody who typed in cruise or Hawaii or Europe or whatever it is and start sending them ads to things. But what you can do is what I think Scott's trying to share is you can call somebody who said, you know, I have a bucket list vacation, and when I turn 50, I want to go to Europe, and you know that, and now you know it's your customer's 50th birthday coming up. You can call and or you can personalize your marketing to that particular person based on, and that's what we try to share with our agents is, you know, make it personal, and you're going to win every single time. But if you haven't watched it, go ahead and do so, because I think it's going to give you a better insight on what's happening in the marketing world. Because if you're just waiting for your customers to call you and say, you know, you know, what is it that you're looking for? Or, you know, they're calling you saying, I don't know, you know, I saw this ad, you know, that came through on my Facebook. Now you're being, you know, butted up against somebody else. Now they have a price. Now they have somebody else to reach out to. You want to make sure that you are bothering them, which you're probably not really bothering them. You're sharing with them. And so, you know, we always say to our agents, you know, don't sell from your comfort zone. You know, make sure you're being proactively reaching out to your clients and never wait for them to call you.
Yeah, that is so true, Michelle. I think, again, when we think about this, and this might sound a little funny, come from a guy that, you know, my primary world and background and what I spent a lot of my time teaching is sales. And sometimes we kind of get wrapped up in, well, you know, what am I going to sell this guy? Before I pick up the phone, what do I want to sell them? And again, I'm going to recommend you don't go into these conversations trying to sell something. What you're going in is to try to find out more about them when they're comfortable talking about travel, when they want to book their travel, and then learning as you come up with kind of an acronym that fits this really well. And you might think about this as you are developing your business, and it basically is Q, the letter B, the number 4, and then Q. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's kind of an abbreviation to say that it's qualify before quote. So if you think about that, in a lot of the scenarios, it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to wait until my customer reaches out to me and says, hey, can you send me a quote on an Alaskan cruise? Well, in truth, unless you call them and really know what they want, et cetera, you're going to simply be in the price, and you can have a pretty quote, you can be nice looking, et cetera, but you really haven't qualified before you send the quote. So again, always think of just this, the next phone call is not to send something, it's not to give a quote on something, it's to qualify, get to know that customer. And no doubt there is some real opportunities out there. And again, you just don't know who is ready to book until you reach out to them.
Scott, let me share something with you. I was on C-Trade this morning, and Frank Del Rio said that Regent put out its 2022 World Cruise and it's sold out. So that just shows you that's a world cruise, that people are pent up, people are ready, and it's not just going to the Bahamas or staying in this bubble on these short cruises. People want something to look forward to. They're acting, they're putting their money down, and again, people are booking travel now.
Well, I will certainly hope that those on the call got a piece of that action, because that's pretty exciting. But it's happening. We're seeing it happen. So people are excited. They are booking, and quite honestly, they're even traveling now, right? I mean, we happen to sell, a huge amount of land vacations, and while certainly we all can't wait for cruises to start, Cancun is selling, and other destinations. So folks are not only booking now, they're traveling now, and based on their own personal comfort level. But again, you're not going to know what that is unless you reach out. And so again, as we move forward, let's think about the fact that one, and I will say it this way, is a lot of times people will say, well, gosh, aren't they going to be dumping their prices and do a lot of price discounting as we move forward? And I can tell you, I don't think that's going to happen, because of the fact that there's limited capacity as we begin to start back into the cruise side of the business. And even in land business, there's only certain occupancy levels, et cetera. So there is so much demand that's out there. I don't think we're going to have to follow kind of what we have in other scenarios where everything becomes price driven. So really, right now is the right time to get people booked and to get them out when on the limited number of choices that are out there and the limited capacity. So again, that we've also got the folks that had the rebooking, holding an FCC, et cetera, that are out there that are already booking into the future. So capacity not only is limited, but it's being sold by those who have just moved their trip forward. So again, there's going to be less ships. And we're not going to see the full fleet, probably Q2, Q3 is our estimation. But again, as we continue moving forward, the demand is going to outstrip supply. And again, that becomes good news for us in that you can tell people, hey, now's the time to book it. You're not going to see discounts by waiting until they get closer in. You're going to need to book this far in advance. And the pricing right now is right. So it's a great time to, again, reach out to those customers, to talk them through this, and to let them now know that now is the time to book.
Okay, Scott, I'm going to take them to the third P, which is plan. Mm-hmm. And remember when we started and I said we have a small window of opportunity because those big box and online travel agencies are going to ramp up at some point in time. So we've got this little small window. So now is the time to set that plan and start working. And by planning and setting goals, it's going to give you that path for growth. So question number 5, do you have a sales target? And try to be realistic, because we know this year, and next year, at least ramping up is going to be a little bit different than it was obviously in 19. But base it on some data. Do you have tools that will help you track progress? Because the most important thing when setting a goal is writing it down. So make sure you say this, that the most important thing when setting a goal is writing it down. Okay.
Michelle, that is so true. And that if you have a goal that's not written down, it's simply a wish and it's going to kind of fade away. Again, it's really important to write it down. Now, again, at Cruise Centers, we actually have a system. We thought this was so important that instead of just kind of preaching about it, we actually put together a system that tracks your goals. And it is important. And again, we don't have any particular prescribed goals that say, you need to do $1 million, you need to do X number of dollars. That's completely up to you. So each one of you on this call are obviously going to have a very different goal. Just a sales figure, it can be a goal on how many people do you want to add to your database, how many phone calls do you want to make each day of all the calls that Michelle and I have been talking about, all of the other things that you want to do. So, but you need to set the goal to be able to, number one, put it down and to put it in, again, a written format, and then to be able to follow how I'm doing with that. So you can see here, again, of the example that we've given, which is pulled right out of our system. It shows about the fact that, I've set my 2020 departure goals, and how am I doing? Well, I got a big green bar. That's great news. So again, you can kind of set up a program to make sure that you are tracking and following your goals.
And anyone, like Scott said, can have a goal, but without a well thought out plan of action, it's going to be difficult to achieve, and you probably won't achieve them if you don't know how you get there. So this brings us to question number 6. Do you have a clearly defined plan to achieve your goals? Is it defined? In other words, do you know what you need to do? I need to grow my emails or social media presence because I know if I do that, my business is going to grow. And then is it actionable? In other words, how many new clients do I need to add to my e-marketing or social media list? So it gives you that target to go after. And then are you tracking it? I want to add 100 new clients, but I've only gathered 50. So I'm halfway there, but I'm not all the way there. And then the plan on how you're going to get there. So it could be that simple or more elaborate, like we show here on the screen. What is the total cost of your marketing plan? How much are you getting in co-op? What is your net cost? So, you know, sometimes it could be elaborate, sometimes it could be super easy. And if you know, I know we're showing you different ways to do it, and we have systems that help do this for our agents, but if not, just create spreadsheets that do this, a way for you to track and making sure that you're hitting your goals.
It's so true, Michelle. It reminds me, many years ago, I was doing a speaking job, and the guy right in front of me ripped on motivational speakers. He said, you know, most motivational speakers just tell you to think happy thoughts, and if you think enough happy thoughts, then good things will happen. And then he went on to say how terrible that is. And of course, wouldn't you know that I was actually on the agenda following him as Scott Koepf motivational speaker. So I ended up going up there, and of course, my very first slide I changed to say think happy thoughts. But I think the point of it is that I then went on to say that yes, happy thoughts are good. You know, good ideas is good, and the right attitude. We've talked a lot about attitude over these last 6 months, and you know, to certainly be forward thinking. But the next step is you're now going to put something in writing as to what your goal is. But even a goal isn't going to be achieved without a plan. You have to say, all right, if my goal is whatever that dollar figure is in sales, how are you going to get there? What are those steps that you're going to take? Then we've built, again, at Cruise Planners, literally a marketing plan system. And when you think about marketing plans, there's really 3 parts of a marketing plan that really are important to put into writing once again. One is plan, right? You've got to plan it. You have to say, okay, I'm going to do this particular activity. I'm going to do something, whether it's a cruise night or an event or a BNI group, whatever it might be. And then you've got to obviously implement it. You have to do it. Well, you're more likely to do it once you've written down in a marketing plan that you're going to do it. If, again, you don't write it down, probably going to go out of your mind and you'll kind of put it off. But once you write it down, put a date around it, then you implement it. And then just as importantly after that is to review whether it worked. So you can figure out if you do it again and the success of certain marketing programs. You can see on the bottom half of that slide, again, you can see a whole results section there that we've built that talks about this. And again, it's so important that you look at this and have this kind of accessibility to say, well, how did that work? How many bookings did I get? What were the sales that I got? New contacts, etc. So very important to go through the whole process of not only setting the goal, but how then your goal. And so as we move into the final of our P's, and that is the partnership. And again, there's so many elements of these 4 pieces to take into account, with starting again with the professionalism, you, and then your database, right? And the people, the customers that you have. And then you've got to have a plan on how to kind of basically bring those 2 things together, right? To bring the professionalism of you and to make sure that your people know that you're the place to book travel, you're the right person to contact, and that you're front of mind with them. And then, of course, that's the plan of getting that to happen. But then the last one is incredibly important, and that is who's going to help you get there, right? And who's going to help you make that next step, or really to pull the first 3 P's together. And that comes to partnerships. And again, there's a few different partnerships in our business that each of you have. Obviously, we've got partnerships with our suppliers, and that's such an important part of this. But there's also the partnerships that come from your relationship that you have either with a host agency or a consortium. Now, there's some of you that may not be affiliated with either one. Pretty rare these days. And again, I'm going to say to those of you that haven't, you really need to consider to affiliate with a host agency, a franchise, or a consortia. again, because the benefits are so huge. But again, you've got to now make the choice of, well, which is that right partner, right? What is the decision factors that I should use to get to the right partnership? And there's different things that certainly people are going to look at, but I'd like to summarize it as follows, is that really what it comes down to is who can save you the most time so that you can make the most money. Sometimes we reverse that question, right? Is that, oh, if I make more money, I can have more time. No, it's actually the opposite way around of thinking of that, is that it's all about how can I save time. You'll notice there, and this is one of the charts on the handout that we've given you, and this is also leading me to the question number 7, is are you maximizing your time? In other words, are you spending more time selling and minimizing your administrative tasks? Another way to ask that is, or to say that, is that if you think about it, anything you are doing outside of talking to a customer, you're losing money, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. Now, there's no doubt that some of that you have to do. We all know we have to do some marketing, we have to do some administrative, we've got to do some research, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, the goal of a partnership is to give you the resources and give you everything possible so that you spend less money doing things that are, let's say, listed on your on the screen there. And so you can write these down and start to track yourself each week. Well, how much time am I spending doing all of this? And then we've given you a little bit, well, how much is my time worth? Well, that's up to you. You can look at maybe your past history, or probably even more importantly is how much money do you want to make? And then using that dollar figure and then multiply it by the number of hours you're spending per week there on the amount of time spent. And you might look at it and go, oh my gosh, I'm spending thousands of dollars doing things that if I had the right partner, I might be able to actually make more money because I have more time talking to customers. And that's really what it comes down to, is to get on the phone and be talking with more customers to make more money. But unfortunately, sometimes when you're looking at a host or franchise, we tend to get wrapped up and think about the wrong approach, Michelle. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So, Scott, what you're talking about is the soft dollars. And I don't think people know their worth. So this is a great exercise to figure out exactly what your time is worth. But I'm going to flip it a little bit and talk about the hard dollars, right? Because when most agents go out looking for a host or a franchise or whatever, the first thing they ask is, what's my commission? And quite honestly, all of us, all major host franchise, we get the top level commissions. But using this worksheet to calculate your hard dollar cost, because it's not necessarily the commission, it's all the other stuff that is not included that actually makes the difference. You have to add up all those monthly fees or website fees, or do you have to, have your own CRM tool, and everything that might not be included. So let's say a host includes the items that are checked off in green. However, they don't include a website or a back office tool. What does that cost you each and every month? Again, calculating both those hard dollar costs, but also adding in those soft dollar costs. If you have a question about something, is there anyone that can help you resolve it? What do you do? Again, what does that cost you? Maybe even a client for future bookings. You might have lost the big group because, you couldn't answer a question or get something, done that you needed to get done for the group. So you see, commission is not the bottom line. It's all the other inclusions that will save you money and time. So question number 8, is your host providing you everything you need to increase your efficiency to be successful? So that's that. Personalized support, advanced technology, comprehensive marketing, and ongoing training. And the most important thing, if I were looking for a host, is somebody that will help me save time. So I'll pass it back to you, Scott.
Yeah, so true, Michelle. And again, over the years, it always seems the leading question is not only commission, but and what's the split? And there's this focus on, well, if I can make a few more dollars on the business that I have, then I'll make that choice and go with that particular host or franchise or consortia. And as Michelle said, is that the reality is that there's a whole bunch of hard costs that you may not be taking into account there, but then combine it with the time is money approach that we've talked about. That, would you rather make an additional half a point or $50 on the booking you have, or would you rather make a whole nother booking? And that's really kind of what it comes down to, is if you can have the efficiency and the time to market, to have the marketing done for you, to have a website, to have these other programs in place, all of these elements that will allow you to basically make more bookings. So not make just a little bit more per booking, but make more bookings. And I think you'll find that certainly we at Cruise Planners think we're very competitive in terms of what the split is, and the more you do, the less you pay. I mean, we have great systems. And again, there's other great host agencies out there, and certainly, again, we recommend to research and look at that. But when you look at franchise, and don't be overwhelmed by the term franchise, the biggest advantage that we have as a franchise, we have a common brand that the consumer can feel very confident about. And we actually are affiliated even with the American Express, that when it comes down to a consumer recognized brand, I don't think there's anyone else in travel that comes even close to that kind of recognition. And so again, you have to look at all of the other benefits, all of the other pieces that are going to bring it back to that time is money, to allow you to spend more time to sell more. And that's really so important as we move forward. And again, when you look at the worksheet that we gave you, and hopefully again you've been able to print that out and either online have been checking these off, or physically on a printed out version, you can take a look at what your questions, how you answered each of those questions. And our hope is that you put a nice yes next to every one of those. But if not, well, that's where you kind of do your own analysis and go back and say, maybe I'm not doing that quite the way that I should be. I need to look at how to improve that. And again, in each of those 4 Ps, to dig a little deeper and make sure you are maximizing how to be efficient with your professionalism, and how to reach out better with your customers and maximize the relationships you have with people. And then what kind of planning tools are available to you that you can write down and really plan for how you're going to make 2021 your best year ever. And partnership, do you get currently what you have really need to get to where you want to go? Are you getting the support? Are you getting that personalized coaching? Are you getting the kind of brand awareness and customer experience that a partner can help you get? So all of that, again, we hope becomes a yes. If not now, then after this program and after digging in a little deeper, you can look at the 4 Ps once more of the professionalism, the people, the plan, and the partnership, and all of those added up are going to really mean that you're going to be moving into this next year with significant profits. And we hope that this has excited you and gotten a little bit of information that can help you move forward into the year. And Michelle, with that, let's talk about another great word that the Cruise Planners team has invented.
I love this word. It's how many of you have trypophobia? And it's the fear of not having any trips currently booked. And I know I could see you all shaking your head saying, yes, I have trypophobia. But if you're feeling it, what do you think your clients are feeling? So I want to make sure when you end this, you are going to start a plan of action. You are going to create that sales target. You are going to reach out and communicate to your clients now, and you're going to start building your future profits. And with that, we'll turn it over and we'll open it up for questions.
Well said, Michelle. And again, we do want to open up for questions, and we're going to bring the fabulous Andy back on here, I think, to feed some questions to us. But obviously, we're happy to answer any questions about Cruise Planners franchise, and we've given you some little teasers throughout this. But obviously, we're interested in helping you, even regardless of your current affiliation. We hope you've gotten some great ideas and thoughts about how to kind of take the worksheet that we have and really dig into that and determine the best ways to move forward. But Andy, we are here to answer any questions.
That was fantastic, you guys, and thank you so much for that really positive and informational presentation. It's so true that everything you guys said is needed to move forward from this past year and to find the next level of success for every agent in the market right now. We didn't have any questions come through as much as we did. So if you do have a question and you're in the audience, feel free to shoot it over in the questions area. We do have a prize giveaway, which is really exciting. And we are going to be asking you a couple questions from the presentation today. There are a couple questions about the Cruise Planners franchise, but I think that these should be dealt with directly. Scott and Michelle, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to these couple questions, I'll send over to you after the presentation's over. We'll start with the prize giveaway. So we're doing 2 questions. The third correct answer will win the prize. So question number 1, drum roll please. The most important thing when setting a goal is to do what? The third correct answer will get it.
Come on, guys. We said this like at least 3 times. Anybody?
All right. I'm going to go with Robin Chalice. Congratulations. You won that first question. You've got a $50 or American Express gift card coming your way. Congratulations.
That's great.
Second question.
Wait.
Fantastic. Yeah, congratulations, Robin. Lunch is on Robin, everybody.
Way to go, Robin.
I will.
All right.
With you, and also say, Andy, that Robin, I assume you got the answer right, of course, and that, of course, was write it down. And I always am reminded whenever I say that there used to be a comedian in Ireland named Hal Roach, and every joke he'd tell that was a good joke, he'd say, write it down. If it was a good one, write it down. But it's so important.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. The most important thing you do is write it down. The second question I've got here, the most important thing when choosing a host is that they will do what for me? Go ahead and type that answer in. The third correct answer is going to get it.
All right, good. Well, I hope.
Right, I'm watching these come through. A lot of great answers here. And Francis Jones is going to be the winner for that one. The answer, save me time.
Yes.
Who doesn't want more time?
Time equals money.
I know. Yes, and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I can't tell you how great this presentation was, and we really appreciate your time and your expertise and all of this wonderful knowledge today. You guys are just amazing individuals, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend it here with us. To all of the attendees, thank you for being with us today. We hope that you've enjoyed, learned, and engaged with some of this amazing content. The next thing we'll be doing is another webinar here in a couple weeks with some more exciting information. Thank you again for visiting our websites and joining us today. Scott and Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You guys have a wonderful day.